Many people have already been through conversion therapy, and James Guay is one of them. James joins me from Los Angeles. James, thank you for being with us tonight.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
I want to hear your story. Let's go back a few years. When did you know you were gay?
Well, it first came to a head where I really realized it when I was age 12. Before that, in retrospect, I can see signs and moments that I was attracted to other guys my age. But really, from ages 12 to 20, I tried to change my sexual orientation from gay to straight.
Okay, from 12 years old, let me just ask you, how did you feel about yourself when you came to grips with the fact that you were gay?
Well, I was brought up in a pretty religious household. My dad was a pastor growing up. And so all that I heard about what it was like to be gay was that you were going to go to hell, that you were evil, sinful, and an abomination from God. So, I obviously wanted to change. That's all I knew. So I tried everything on my own accord to do just that, going to every sermon I could go, praying every day, reading the Bible several times through, and nothing was working. And so I finally talked to my parents and asked them to let me see an ex-gay Christian psychologist.
Okay, for conversion therapy.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did...
6.
Okay, at age 16. So you told your parents you were gay, and they helped you find this person.
Attractions.
Sorry?
That I told them I had same-sex attractions, which is sort of how the ex-gay movement sort of framed it at that time. But yeah, it was something that I told them that I had these feelings. I didn't want to have them. I wanted to change them. I tried everything on my own accord to do that, and nothing was working. So I wanted to try psychological interventions.
Okay, how did that work?
Well, I met with someone for weekly appointments for about a year, and it was talk therapy, but it was really, really damaging because even though I was volunteering for it, it was perpetuating stigma, stereotypes of what it is to be LGBTQ, and using myths that we can't be happy and we're dysfunctional and can't have a healthy relationship, those kinds of things. And I was wanting to change it, and nothing was happening. So that also made me feel like there was something intrinsically wrong with me.
Okay. So for a year, you went through this talk therapy with the goal being what exactly?
To have opposite sex attraction, to be able to date girls and, enjoy sort of those kinds of relationships.
Okay. And this was a psychologist you were dealing with?
It was. He was a licensed psychologist. He's no longer practicing, thankfully. But at the time, it legitimized this therapeutic approach. I believed that it was possible. It gave me initial hope, and then ultimately ended up being really, really destructive.
Destructive in what way, James?
Well, I'm actually a licensed therapist now, and I work with a lot of people who have been through this experience as well. And it can bring up all kinds of things like depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, difficulty being in intimate, loving, ongoing romantic relationships. It really messes with our heads, that it reinforces the stigma that we're already receiving by society at large.
How old were you when you received this therapy?
I was 16 for about a year. I also did a lot of ex-gay conferences. It was through Exodus International, which has since shut down their doors. So there were a lot of different means that I was trying to change. Reading, listening to tapes at the time. This was in the 80s.
Yeah. When did you conclude that you were a gay man?
I went to my last ex-gay conference at the age of 20. And it was one of those things. It took several years for me to recognize that despite my efforts, I was convinced I could change. I did everything to try and make that happen, and nothing was occurring. So I realized at that time it wasn't working.
Okay, so when did you finally accept yourself for who you were, who you are?
Well, I had my first long-term relationship starting at age 20 as well. So that was a huge introduction into greater self-acceptance and recognizing that all the things that I'd heard about what it was to be a gay man did not play out. I was in a loving, healthy relationship for 6 years with someone, and that was a huge light bulb moment for me.
What's your reaction to this group in Canada led by a Canadian man who wants to put conversion therapy, wants to ban it such that it's even written in the criminal code?
I think it's unfortunately necessary because conversion therapists are still out there practicing this, despite the Canadian Psychological Association and the Canadian Psychiatric Association coming out very demonstratively to say that this is not working and very harmful to clients.
You call it fraud, consumer fraud.
It is, yeah. If as a therapist I'm saying that I can treat something and have a particular outcome, but that outcome doesn't happen for 99+% of the people that are receiving it, unless, again, maybe there's, for some of those that are bisexual, they can sort of enhance their heterosexual desires and limit their same-sex desires. If 99+% of people aren't changing and are actually receiving harm, that's consumer fraud.
I'm curious, what's your relationship with your father today?
You know, he's since passed away, but in the last week of his life, he made a point of letting me know that, you know, he believes I'm going to heaven, believed that when I was age 5 or 6 and accepted Jesus into my life, that took. So I think it was his way of demonstrating his love and a little bit of shift for him in terms of what it meant to him that I was his gay son.
All right. James Guay, thank you so much for sharing your story with us this evening. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.